Video games are a sprawling overload of information, both visual, mental, and sometimes the small stuff is easy to miss. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, 10 mind-blowing little details in games. Starting off with number 10, Red Dead Redemption 2's crazy detailed NPCs. Now, at this point, you'd think we'd covered basically every possible detail in Red Dead 2, but we keep finding new stuff to talk about, like this little discovery. If you go to the Central Union Railroad camp in New Hanover, you'll find a place where these workers are toiling away to build some train tracks. Now, of course, this area is filled with period-appropriate details, but one of the most surprising things about it is the rail workers aren't faking it. Like, if you zoom in on them, they're not acting like just background actors in a video game that they've done some work on to fill up some space and make it look like stuff is moving. No, these guys are actually hammering in railroad spikes. Each worker is actually genuinely hammering them in, and when they are done, they move on to the next one. They aren't just repeatedly doing the action in one spot over and over. They're building the railroad. It's just one of the many examples of the incredible attention to detail in this game. In terms of size, scope, and ambition, there's really just nothing on the level of Red Dead Redemption 2. At number 9 is God of War Ragnarok's Spartan Rage stuff. Now, this one's kind of wild because I've played a lot of this game now, like a lot of this game now, and I have not noticed this stuff. Most of the little things in the new God of War like kind of stand out on their own, but like I said, have just not noticed up until we were looking for things to talk about here, just how much detail the developers put into Kratos' transformation when you activate Spartan Rage. Like, I assumed, like I'm sure many have, that the red glow was like the primary thing going on. I assume there really wasn't a lot else, if anything. But if you take a closer look, you can actually see that when Rage is active, Kratos' muscles are flexing and his veins are bulging. Like, look at the vein in his forehead. It looks basically like there's going to be too much pressure, and he may actually blow a gasket or something. It's such a subtle detail that's impossible to notice unless you really stop and look at it. Like, it's kind of mind-blowing you can spend that much time in a game and not even notice something like this until you're like specifically looking for stuff like this. At number 8 is Modern Warfare 2, and it's all about the ammo. Like, in the first Modern Warfare reboot, they really went wild with all of the details, and the sequel seems like it's continuing the same tradition, and there's really just dozens of things we could highlight here, but this detail is probably my favorite. For whatever reason, the developers put a ton of these little subtle details into how ammo is displayed in a gun. For starters, every gun has a unique inspection animation. Everyone already knows about that. Like, we've talked about that before on the channel. But when you look at each gun, you can actually see how much ammo remains in the clip when you inspect them. It's especially obvious when the clip's near empty. Like, look at the difference with a few of these guns. Another cool thing is that if you have different ammo types, then those will show up in your clip instead with unique models. Like, it's almost just a flex. Like, they're just bragging. Hey, look what we can do, you know? And you're probably aware of how guns have different reload animations when a gun is empty versus if it's got some ammo left in the clip, but they took things a step further. Like, the revolver has 5 unique reload animations depending on how many bullets you still have left in the clip. And still, there's one more mind-blowing thing about inspecting guns. If the clip is totally empty, the inspection animation's gonna be different, sometimes completely different. It's kind of ridiculous the level of detail they put into this. At number 7 is Last of Us Part 1, an alternative use for human shields. Now, the recent remake of Last of Us has a ton of new little environmental interactions and details. Some of them are new, some of them are backported from the sequel, but there's one little thing I did not know was possible. Like, most of the time, you're only grabbing infected to break their necks, because holding these guys is basically useless against other infected. Getting a hold of them is pretty rare, and to take them on up close is kind of dangerous, and that goes was like double for the first game. So it's not like super likely you'll see this interaction normally. Now, clickers are an instant kill. You're just screwed unless you've got a shiv to defend yourself. But there's actually another way to stop a clicker. At this point, you probably see what we're starting to get at. It's actually possible to take an infected hostage, and if you get attacked by a clicker, they'll bite your human shield instead of you. There's even an entirely unique animation for what is a really rare scenario, and it's pretty amazing to find this new strategy in the game now, but I definitely didn't know about it before. And number 6 is this funny little car thing in Sleeping Dogs. This is a game that's starting to look kind of old these days, but it holds up just because of what it is. And a big reason why is because all the weird little things you can do. Vehicles in particular let you do some pretty crazy stuff, like how you can pretty much abduct a person whenever you want by throwing them into the trunk of your car. But there's another fun little detail about them. In most open world games, when you park your car close to another car, then your guy's gonna get out of your car through the other door. It's like that in this game too, but there's something else that'll happen if both doors are blocked. Instead of just forcing your way out, if both car doors are blocked, your guy will just smash through the front windshield and climb out of the car that way. It's a little extreme, but hey, if it works, it works. And number 5 is the Ghost of Tsushima. It's probably one of the most beautiful games to come out in the last few years. We've covered a lot of little details in Tsushima in a previous video, but there are still some interesting things to find. Let's talk about how this game manages to combine two of its most serene elements, falling leaves and water. Like, alone, these things both look incredible. They are just a testament to both the art style and just the detail, but when you combine them, they look even better. When leaves fall into a body of water, instead of disappearing, they actually settle on the surface of water and start floating away like, you know, leaves do. And it's one of these amazing little visual details that sounds so insignificant, but really sells the realness of the world. It's just such a visual showcase, this game. And number 4 is Red Dead Redemption 2, Ring the Roads Bell. Unbelievable how many little things there are in this game. There's just really nothing else out there like it. And another amusing detail can be found in the town of Rhodes, where this big bell is sitting at the entrance to town. You can shoot it with a gun at any time, and that rings it, and it annoys everyone, just like you might expect it to. But if you wait until night, oh boy, does it really annoy people. Like, and I got it. Let's say you're about to get to sleep, or maybe you're even been asleep for a few minutes after having trouble getting to sleep. All of a sudden, gunshot, ding! Yeah, I got it. And that's how much detail there is in this game. Like, it's worth going through the mental processes of people responding to your actions. That is pretty wild. It's just not that you can ring the bell and people react to it. It's that you can ring the bell at different times of day and they'll react differently. Like, they'll complain they're trying to sleep and you're just making a huge racket. And it's very funny. At number 3 is Horizon Forbidden West's Shell Walker container. Everyone knows you can knock parts off machines in Horizon. It's a central part of combat. But one little detail you might not know involves the Shell Walkers. Normally, you can knock the big containers off these guys, and that's a loot thing. You get some loot from it. But if you're in combat, nothing too unusual happens. They just fight you. If you're careful, you manage to knock off the container without setting them off. You can also see to how they react to losing their container. Like, after it gets knocked off, the Shell Walker is going to look really confused for a moment. They'll walk over, they'll grab the container and put it back on their backs. But because the attachments are broken, because you broke them, they'll hold it in place with one of their hands, which is just an impressive little detail for something that nobody's really going to see. That's not really a common thing, at least for most players. And number 2, Gran Turismo 7. This game accurately models the sky at night, and this one's pretty crazy. The level of detail in this game it's second to none. There's just an obsession that went into making this game, and it doesn't end with cars. These tracks are so meticulously recreated down to the smallest detail, including, and I'm dead serious about this, all of the stars in the sky, like the star formations, the planets, it's all accounted for, and their position changes depending on the location of the track. It's an incredibly small detail that 99% of people are not even gonna notice, much less care about. But this is the kind of detail we love to see. It's the sort of thing that takes a ton of work, and it makes the game feel more realistic, even if most people never notice it. And finally at number 1, the Hitman trilogy, using rakes as weapons. Now the Hitman games are all about that sandbox, you know? The most random things you can pick up, they don't serve a lot of a purpose other than bludgeoning people, and some tools can double as traps. In the level Whittleton Creek, it's pretty easy to find the humble rake, which is mostly just a tool for blending in, but it also serves a really funny secondary function. Like, just leave it on the ground in front of somebody who's walking around, and when they step on the rake, it'll pop up and hit him in the face and stun him for a second, a la Sideshow Bob. It's this ridiculous little detail that most players didn't even know about until recently, and I don't know that it's a Simpsons reference or anything, but I do know that every time I make it happen, that's all I can think about. I mean, this is just another really fantastic and interesting way developers really went all out to create as many interesting interactions as is possible. Also, a quick bonus for you, the unusual rain in Ghostwire Tokyo. Like, it's really odd, but if you've played Ghostwire, you might have noticed how strange the rain looks. Like, there's a reason for that. For some reason, the raindrops fall in the shape of the rain kanji rather than raindrops. Like, if you're unfamiliar, kanji is a system of Japanese writing using Chinese characters. So, the rain is little Chinese characters that mean rain. It might just be to do with the ghostly nature of the world, or just might be a quirky detail that developers came up with and did to make it unique. I don't know, but it's actually mind-blowing when you realize it, because it's pretty easy to miss. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanks.